pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, adoption of the agenda. Any changes?
We had just one addition, under customer request. I put a copy of each of the desks, something that came in late yesterday after the agenda was out. We'll add that.
Okay, so second item under
Second item
16.
under customer request, yes, sir. That's the only change.
Can I get a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
All in favor say aye. Approval of minutes.
These are the next to be
Roll call.
I need to remind everybody, turn your mics on if you need to, in order to speak to Stephanie if you need to.
Approval of the minutes, May 15, 2025. Is there a second?
Second.
All right. All in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. No old business, so we'll go to new business. First up is public comment. Anybody here to speak in public comment?
I haven't seen you in any days.
All right. Customer request. 208 Green Street, Locust Grove.
Please go ahead.
Yes, had a customer writing board. They had higher than normal usage back in February. We pulled the data log, as you can see in your board package. Looked like between 217 and 219, they had a spike in the usage. They don't know where it went. We don't know where it went. We just know it went through the meter. Offered them a meter test. They turned that down. So they wrote more relief from their bill.
What I could see, I mean, I don't have any, that, went through the meter, so just as in all other cases, I'm in favor of going for the water. My question, I guess, is on what happened with the disconnect and the late fees.
We have to go back and remove the late fees after their bill.
Okay, so
So
the late fees will be exonerated.
Yeah,
They'll be
they're
manually
taken out,
removed.
yeah.
They will be exonerated, they'll be manually removed for that, because they've been hold till we get it to the board. What they don't understand is our system automatically calculates that in as it does the bill.
Okay.
Trace has to go back, and they will remove it.
My only question. I know we stand by existing policy as far as billing for the water went through the meter.
Any further discussion on that? Okay, everybody in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously.
The second item, Mr. Chairman, is I put a copy of it at each of the places. This is a letter that came in yesterday, late from a customer in Lake of the Woods. Had to do with this past weekend where we had severe flooding throughout the entire area. I told her on a phone call she could write the board if she would like, and we would turn this into our insurance company for them to investigate and make a determination. This is what she's provided for that. Board doesn't need to take any action, but I wanted to share with you what she had sent. Trace has already sent it to Versa for them to review, investigate, and make a determination. So if you have questions, we'll try to answer those. Otherwise, it's just information.
This is the same customer that the email exchange has been
Yes.
going back, right?
Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any questions on that? Okay, comments from the board.
Mr. Chair, I'll just make a quick comment to thank staff for their quick response to that storm Saturday that knocked off one of our most important pump stations in Lake of the Woods and just back up and running in 12 hours or so.
Just a few hours.
Yeah, it was big disruption. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, I think add to that, I think it sounds like, based on everything I heard from Tim and through the email, I think it sounds like staff did all they could do, and, like, we'll just have a hard time understanding that, an act of God like that is, beyond our control, regardless of what she thinks. And it sounds like we've done everything we could do.
It's hard to know, yes. Joe and his guys, and David was down there with them. They did a really good job getting everything back.
All right, 2024 audit annual report presentation. Robertson, Farmer, and Cox.
Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Matthew McLaren. I'm Robinson Farmer Cox Associates, and our firm performed the 2024 audit. I'm here to present the results of that audit. Try to keep my remarks brief, but certainly interrupt me if you have any questions. First thing I'm going to cover, there should be a packet of information, I believe, that Mr. Gaskins passed around. There's a bound financial report. I'll review that briefly, but there's also a stapled letter. This letter is required communication between an auditor and a governing body, the board of members here. And I just want to kind of review those points in that letter very briefly. One of the points described in that letter are responsibilities under the audit. Management of the authority has an important part of the audit. That is mainly during the year, they're required to keep accounting records, internal controls in place, and required to present records to be audited during the audit field work. The auditor, as everyone knows, tests those documents, we test controls. If there's adjustments to be made, we propose those adjustments to management. They consider them, include those in the financial statements. The proposed changes to the internal control structure, so it's trying to make sure there's checks and balances over the financial reporting. We'll propose those as well to management based on our experience in auditing other authorities. The next item communicating this letter is accounting estimates. There's some of those audited financial statements that are estimates included in the financial statements. The most significant estimate used in preparation of the financial statements for the authority is related to depreciable lives of long-term assets, and then measurement of pension code liabilities, which is a new reporting item. I'll touch on that very briefly here momentarily. Please report there are no difficulties encountered performing the audit. Corrected and uncorrected misstatements, as I mentioned, is a normal part of the audit process to propose misstatements to be included in the financial statement. They're generally called audit adjustments. Required under professional standards to disclose any uncorrected misstatements, so those would be adjustments we propose that management they have not included in the bound financial report that you have. Please report that all proposed adjustments were included. And lastly, we're required to disclose our knowledge that management sought a second opinion, also called opinion shopping. Please report we have no knowledge that management sought a second opinion for no audit. That briefly summarizes the communication in that letter. I'll move quickly to the bound financial report for the year ending December 31st, 2024. This report is segregated in 4 parts. I'll start with the financial section. Look immediately behind the financial section tab, you'll see the independent auditor's report. This is the first of 3 reports in this document that will find the audit firm's letterhead. This is our opinion on the accuracy of the financial statements presented. We have issued an unmodified or a clean opinion without modification for the year ending December 31st. That spans, of course, about 2.5 pages. Immediately following that section is a document called the Management's Discussion and Analysis. I'm going to review this. In summary, this is a narrative overview of the financial statements. This is from the perspective of management. This is written by Mr. Gaskins in the accounting department. It provides an analytical overview of the key points in the financial records of this document. It's fairly lengthy. It provides some comparison to the previous year as well. For a brief review of the financial statements, we'll start on page 25. This is the statement of net position. Statement of net position actually spans the course of statement of net position is just another term for balance sheet. So, for-profit entity would use a balance sheet term to describe this statement. See total assets, total liabilities, net position, which is found on page 26. That's a term for equity. That's a term for equity for the authority. Governmental entities use the term net position in lieu of retained earnings or some other terminology, which you may see in a for-profit setting. But net position for the entire authority encompasses all activities, 62.7 million. Again, that includes the long-term assets as well. So that's infrastructure, buildings, and equipment. Those are all market book value, meaning they're only there at cost basis and not at adjusted market value. Right? These long-term assets are not adjusted for that. But see, there's two components in that position. Net investment in capital assets that reflects the authority's net equity in its long-term assets. And you'll see unrestricted. That's more liquid net position or equity that the authority has, mainly cash and receivables. The second of the three financial statements where he reports is the statement of revenues, expenses, and changes in that position. That's Exhibit 2, now on page 27. There's a lot of information on this report, but I'll point your attention to the change in net position. It's the fifth number from the bottom. The authority reported an increase in change in net position, or increase in equity of 10.6 million the year ended December 31st, 2023. The third and final financial statement is now on Exhibit 3. It's a little more focus-oriented financial statement. A lot of information on this page. The statement of cash flow only reports the ending cash balance for the authority. It does not include any other liabilities or long-term assets. This is strictly the cash position. You'll see the double underline about 2/3 of the way down the page. 10.4 million. It's the cash position for the authority. That's December 31st. As I mentioned just a minute ago, the authority has several new reporting items. One of those reporting items is reporting of the Virginia Retirement System pension liability. Obviously, the authority elected to be part of the Virginia Retirement System. What comes along with that is the reporting of what's considered a net pension liability. As with every entity that participates in that, VRS provides an actuarial valuation. Basically, that's a financial position of the authority and their employees, future retirees' position in the total VRS, right? Which is one component of a larger pension system. We're required to report some of that information that's reported in the actuarial valuation in this document. This document grew by about 6 or 7 pages as a result of that. That information, again, is just a repetition of the actuarial valuation that VRS provides to the authority annually. You'll see that there is a net pension liability, meaning the pension plan itself is unfunded. It's common. In fact, most participants in VRS are unfunded, just like any other pension plan, are slightly underfunded. That's normal. There's nothing to be alarmed about that. VRS monitors that. They assume that. They set the rates sufficient enough to cover any sort of ongoing pension liability. So again, very normal part of being part of a long-term pension. A lot of that information can be found in the notes and financial statements. Touch on that too much, but that's in your note 13 of that large section of the notes. And lastly, I'd like to briefly review the second and third reports that are on the audit firm letterhead, and that's found under the compliance section of this document, the fourth and final section. The independent auditor's report and internal control over financial reporting, as I mentioned, were required as part of the audit process to test and control basically the segregation of duties and the checks and balances the authority has over the collection of cash, expenditure of funds, the reporting of the financial statements, and please report that we reported no material weaknesses in that reporting stream. And then lastly, the third and final report now on page 98. This is a new reporting item for the authority. This is directly related to the authority's receipt and expenditure of federal funds.
much. Are there any questions?
Sounds like a clean bill of health.
All right, very good. Thank you.
And staff, we would just like to thank Mr. McLaren and his folks at RFC for the work they continue to do. We appreciate that, so thank you very much, Ben.
Okay, next item on the agenda is the Route 20 vault addendum.
It is, Mr. Chairman, if you see in your package, there is a one-page addendum to the Route 20, well, it's actually 3 pages with the attachments to the Route 20 addendum water purchase. Mr. Kalos and I had worked on this some, well, Mr. Kalos worked on it a lot, I worked on it a little. This goes back to the original agreement we went into with Town of Orange. It cleans up 2 provisions, section D or subsection D of section 2, which used to read that provision of real-time Porter Road tank level data just to the town via, it wasn't very specific. This cleans that up. It says we're going to transmit it to the town's water treatment plant. So we're working with the town, they just wanted to clean up that language, and we did that in this addendum. The other and the bigger thing for the town was initially the agreement, section 6, had them owning the entire vault and everything in it. But as the design went through and everything was happening, it became more evident that about half the equipment in there would be their responsibility, the other half would be ours. So we revised that language to better define points of responsibility. You'll see that on pages 16 and 17, exhibits A and B. It's simply a drawing of the vault and a demarcation line that will be actually physically in that vault, 4-inch stripe painted. You stay on your side, we'll stay on ours, type of thing. But again, working with the town folks, we wanted to clean that language up, and that is what this addendum brings to you today. Those 2 changes. First, clarifying where we're going to transmit the data. Second, cleaning up the ownership responsibilities. So I'm bringing that to the board today to see if you will approve it.
Brakes on that side of the line, they pay for it. Brakes on this side of the line, we pay for it.
Pretty much so, yes. Pretty much so. So that is the item being brought to you today, is the Route 20 addendum. Stephen can speak to it if you have questions for him.
When did y'all draw that red line?
Trace actually did it with a computer.
But it is in the box too drawn, correct?
It will be.
Oh, will be.
Yeah, the vault's not, we have actually bid the project. We had taken bids. We had 2 bidders. We did not have the bid tabulation done in time for this agenda. It will come next month. But it will actually be painted inside that vault so that everybody can see it when it's done.
Okay, and you need us to adopt this addendum?
Yes, we do. And then, Mr. Chairman, if the board adopts it, we'll have you sign it and we'll seal it and send it back to the town for them to take it back to town.
Okay.
It's a good project.
It will be a good project.
So can I get a motion?
I'll move to approve the changes as proposed. I would say.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Roll call.
We can do roll call. Coppedge.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Voorhees.
Aye.
Thank you. And like I said, we'll bring you the bid award on that at the next meeting.
Bulk water sales rate. You want to raise it 33%.
We're here to talk to you about this.
Yeah, we was reviewing just miscellaneous charges. We noticed we didn't raise the bulk rate back in earlier in the year when we did the rate study. Last time we raised it was in 2017. It's currently at $15. It's actually cheaper for bulk water than our Madison customers. Our Madison customers is paying $15.71. So I'm proposing raising it up to $20 per thousand.
So is this per guys with tanker?
Tanker trucks that fill off of our fire hydrants, yes. Usually for pool fill-ups, that sort of thing. That's what it's for.
Yeah, I don't have any idea what the what the market rate is for something like that, so I'll take your word for it.
Spotsylvania, if you have a meter, they do 1946 per thousand. Unmetered is a flat charge of 44.32 plus 1946 per thousand.
About Culpeper.
The town of Culpeper, they charge a minimum of 42.67, and anything over 2,000 is $7.26 per thousand. Yeah, but they hit you with a minimum of 42.67.
We've never done the minimum, we've always just done a cost per thousand.
Do we meter it anywhere, or is it all around our system?
Some will purchase meters,
Okay.
or not purchase.
We rent meters. We rent meters to some of them, use them all the time. Others, we rely on the size of the trucks. We know how big they are. We charge for a full load, and they know that. If you've got a 3,000 gallon truck, we're going to charge for 3,000 gallons. So.
Where do they, sorry to expose my ignorance, but where do these fill-ups happen?
In Madison, we use down by the Plow and Hearth warehouse.
Right at the entrance.
In Route 15 system, we use down by across from the Inwood Restaurant, just before the town of Gordonsville. And then we've got a spot down at Lake of the Woods. We don't get as much hauling down there, but we did have a spot down there. So we try to just keep it to 2 or 3 so that we know where they're supposed to be. And it's up to the
And we
board.
don't need any kind of public hearing on this?
No.
We can just raise the rate. Do we need a motion?
Yes, we would want a motion and a roll call vote.
Okay. That is, anyone care to make a motion to raise the rates from $15 to $20 per 1,000 gallons?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Cobbage.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Marshall.
Aye.
Voorhees.
Aye.
Okay, so motion passes 4-0. General manager report.
I'll try to keep it brief. Mr. Chairman, I just have a few items. The first we've already talked a little bit about. We did have some significant flooding this past weekend in the Locust Grove area, and there's been a lot of things going on with that. There's a lot of water that came through there. And speaking to the Lake of the Woods Association, she was telling me that I guess they even had bulkheads get damaged. There was so much water. That's a lot. So we're pretty much back fine from it now, but we've spent a lot of time pumping down tanks. We had 2 vacuum trucks out throughout it. Fortunately, our pump station was not as damaged as we thought it would be, and as Mr. Voorhees mentioned earlier, we were able to get it back online fairly quickly. And looking back and talking to our staff, this is worse flooding than any of them remember since Hurricane Isabel back around 2003. I mean, it was a pretty severe event. So that's what I had on that. Secondly, disinfection byproducts. We did complete our second quarter sampling in May of 2025, and the results for each system shows that all systems right now are in compliance with DBP regulations at this time. So we're very pleased to be able to report that. Madison sewer plant replacement, we have that out to bid right now. Advertised. Bid opening is scheduled for June 26th. We're hoping. We had 6 contractors attend the pre-bid conference on that, so we're hoping to get some competitive bids on it, and then we'll see what that comes in, and be bringing that to the board later for the future award. And then the final thing I had, as you see in the last page of your agenda, the financials through May of 2025. We're in decent shape for the time of year. We have seen a small increase in water sales, but the abundance of rainfall we've been receiving has actually tempered water sales a little bit. So it's feast or famine. If it doesn't rain, we have a drought, then we're complaining about that. And if it does rain, we complain we're not selling enough water. But
Then we have floods.
then we have floods. So, but all in all, we're in decent shape financially. That pretty much wraps up my report for today.
How's construction in the office coming along?
It is coming along. Trace can tell you more about it than I can. He was down there just yesterday.
Yeah, I went down yesterday. They wrapped the sides of the building now. This is under roof. They put the windows in yesterday. Now the cables are run. Most of the electrical cables are run. Part of the HVAC is run. They're a little bit ahead of schedule on it right now. You know, rain's killing them, but he said he was very fortunate whenever he called a sub and said, hey, can you come? They've been coming. So
So we think they'll still be online to be done with it in September, which is the goal.
Alrighty. Attorney report.
Thank you. Mr. Clemens, I thought I'd mention the PFAS settlement, if you think that's appropriate.
Yes, please do, Stephen, please.
You all might recall that some time ago, the board elected to proceed with the mass settlement regarding PFAS potentially in the water, certainly in the water in other places. It's a large, very large nationwide litigation. The board opted to go in on it. We did a lot of preliminary work and with the claims administrator and submitted the claims. Initially, claims were against 3M and DuPont, and more recently they're against Tyco and BASF. As a part of this, we had to do some testing, and after a period of time, the testing was completed, and the good news was we don't have PFAS in our water, which is great. The question was, will RSA recover anything if you have a zero while other places have large numbers? And I asked that question repeatedly, several times at least, of the claims administrator. Couldn't get an answer, but ultimately, and I did encourage them to say, hey, you know, when you get into this, you don't know what you're going to find. I hope we get compensated for cost. And we did get an answer last week, or about a week ago, that yes, we have received and are forwarding on to RSA a check for $17,000 and some change, which does cover costs and then some. And the claims are not over yet. I'm continuing to get communications from the claims settlement. They have a portal that we work on. It's quite complicated. I think Tim will shake his head acknowledging that. We've had to go through a lot of steps to submit the claims and submit the results. But I can't say if there are going to be other payments. I suspect there might be because I'm continuing to get information on the other claims. So I don't see how this one payment could be it. I don't foresee, however, a large payout just based upon the good news that RSA's water is clean and specifically in this case clean of PFAS. Happy to answer any questions to the extent I can answer them based on this complex litigation.
Okay. Thank you, Stephen. Any questions?
Not a question, but just a comment that on the regulatory side, the wastewater side, one of the recent things that's starting to bubble up and with some concern by DEQ and I think some people in the legislature is the issue of biosolids application to our farms. That's been a regulated, permitted practice that some farms consider beneficial, some people oppose it, but it's been regulated and it's kind of well known as to what's going on here. But PFAS has not been part of the regulation. And so the concern that's emerging is communities that do have PFAS issues coming out of their wastewater plants, then having biosolids transported into communities that don't, and having land application on farms that then could end up contaminating wells. So I think the thing that's being looked at by DEQ and legislatures is testing and maybe banning importing biosolids from PFAS contributing communities while allowing biosolids to be continued within communities that don't have a problem. So as you can tell, that's probably a lot of complex stuff, but that is getting some traction at the state level on this comment on that.
All right. Closed session?
No, sir, I don't have a need for one. Stephen, do you? Closed session?
Okay.
I would just comment, I'd like to thank Mr. Kalos for attending the meeting today. He's actually on vacation. But we did drag him in long enough to do this. And he makes it sound like I've actually done something on the PFAS, which is not really true, except click a couple of boxes. He's done 99.5% of the work. So he gets the credit, not me, for any check we get, and I do thank him for that.
Thank you.
All right, very good. Someone care to make a motion to adjourn? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned.
Tracy, you want to get our signature on that? Thank you, Steph.